let's switch gears and talk about one of our main topics for the day. This is a big one. We are talking Black Summer. If you listened to last week's episode, and hopefully you did, Haley had seen, I think, the first 4 episodes or something like that, and recommended that I check it out, that I would like certain elements of it. And I've officially watched the whole thing. And before
I finished it as well.
Before I give anybody any spoiler warning, I figured I'll briefly say non-spoiler wise whether I recommend it or not.
Yeah.
And I think that your thoughts on how I would feel about it were pretty spot on, because we were texting last night and I told you that I loved so much of it.
Yeah.
And then there's other parts that were just like, meh. And it's weird how it's one or the other, and there's very little in between. So that's pretty much how I felt about it. I can also tell you guys that it is divided up almost like in a chapter type way where you get title cards before you jump into it. I didn't really get the point of that in the end.
Yeah.
I don't think it ever really enhanced what I saw after a title card was revealed. So if anything, I think it was killing the momentum. But I thought some of the performances were great. I think the group of characters that they bring together wind up coming together very, very strongly. I liked a lot of the camera moves. There are some very, very long oneers. If you don't know what a oneer is, it is a super long shot that basically takes place over a long extent of time. Sometimes there could be hidden cuts in there, but I thought if there were any cuts, and some of them I don't think there were any, were very, very well shot and well blocked.
The first episode is just like all those oneers and all that camera work. It
so
just
impressive.
Drops you right in there.
I thought that the design of the zombies were spot on. I really did love how fast they were, how vicious they felt.
They're scary, right?
It put me way more on edge than I have been, I think, since probably Train to Busan.
Yeah.
I think that's the last time I felt this level of terror for their lives. So I would recommend it, but they did not knock it out of the park.
Agreed across the board.
Okay.
Yeah.
In that case, do you want to issue the spoiler warning and dive into it?
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the spoiler discussion of Black Summer. So if you haven't finished it yet, go ahead and tune out and come back. We're going to talk about some zombie movies later. So maybe we'll break that out separate for you guys so you don't have to go digging for it. But for now, if you haven't watched Black Summer, this is your final warning. Peace out, y'all.
Okay, here we go. So I again took some notes.
Yes.
Because I wanted to remember certain things that I really liked. And just to kick it off with certain oneers and shots that I was super into, the one with Lance in episode 1, I thought that was incredible. Where we don't follow him, but we follow the friend that had turned.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That was intense.
Reminded me, you don't see that very often, and it made me think of, I think it was VHS 2, where it has the one where she's jogging, riding in the woods or so.
A ride in the park, I believe.
Yeah. And you see it from her point of view with the cam on her head. And the
bike rider.
Yeah. That was really the only thing I've seen that was sort of like that.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I almost put that in my list for later in the show. I'm glad it got a shout out.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. Also, jumping into episode 2, the 360 camera spin in the car with the 3 of them.
Yes.
Who thinks of this stuff? And who can orchestrate it that beautifully? Where
really well.
The 360 stuff always astounds me, because you should be able to catch a piece of lighting equipment, a crew member, something, and it is just so well done.
I think there are a couple crew pop-ups.
Really?
Yeah, that I've seen on Twitter.
I didn't see it in that specific moment.
Maybe not in that moment, but I do think it happens a couple times in the show, like reflections and cars and stuff. But it happens, and they clearly weren't working with the biggest budget. So
in that episode too, when Barbara goes out the window.
Oh my God!
Wait, another non-spoiler thing. Do you know where I watched this?
Where?
I watched the entire season on the plane.
Oh, of course,
and I think there was a kid who must have been 10 years old sitting next to me, side-eyeing the entire thing, and freaking Barbara just goes headfirst through a windshield. But when that happened, I think I audibly said, "Holy shit," on the plane.
I mean, put on your seatbelt, bitch. He even said, "Buckle up." He's jamming his car into another car. Who just sits there?
You would think, and in the middle, no less.
Who does that? She deserved it. I'm sorry. She really did.
Okay, so here's one of my first little character issues, is that Barbara felt like she flip-flopped to me, and maybe I need to rewatch it, but when we first met her, I know she's stupid and she lets that guy in the car.
She's stupid as hell.
But I don't know, the way that conversation was panning out, I felt like she was a little more like hardened and aware and just like on alert. The way that conversation was proceeding, where I almost gave her the okay, like, you're all alone. I know, like, they establish in the show very clearly that you're better off with a larger number of people.
Right.
I gave her the pass for that, but then in that next episode, she's like useless.
Yeah.
I thought she would be a little more impactful than that.
I think her first scene had a very different impression on me because from the first moment I was like, oh, she dead. She's too stupid to live in this apocalypse. Like, that's not the person who makes it.
I guess it's just, it's tough for me to judge her in that moment when the next group of people she meets, she needs, you know?
Yeah. I think it's...
I mean, it just speaks to the randomness and to like the volatility and the danger of being in this kind of place where you need to make allies, but like, who the heck are your allies going to be?
I think that, I don't know, trust your gut. That guy was creepy as hell. There's no way that was a good dude. Not a chance.
I mean, my red flag was up the whole time during that conversation.
And it's supposed to be. It's filmed that way to be so. But,
exactly.
I mean, that's an interesting thing we can get to even as we progress further because these are not good people, actually. They do horrible things.
And, like, the ones that you think are the really good ones, eventually they do something horrible anyway. And they do it with, like, a viciousness in their eyes also. And I'm like, I didn't see you capable of going there.
They literally commit a whole-scale massacre to get guns. That's, like, some full-tilt villain shit.
Yes, it is.
I was blown away by that.
I was surprised they went there, but I also appreciated how strongly this show drilled into my head, what would you do to survive? Because that is what it's all about.
I guess it's an interesting thing, though, that I don't feel like they've morally grappled with. I feel that they still want us to think that these guys are the heroes, and I'm not really fully on their team. Like, well, maybe not Spears, who's a puzzle in his own right.
Yeah.
We don't know what the hell his deal is yet.
Yeah. I'm still not ready to super judge him.
We're obviously supposed to think Rose is sort of the heroine, and she's complicit. She totally killed all those people. Like, she's the bad guy on The Walking Dead.
She flat out murders those two military men, too, without having, like, a full picture of what... Like, for all she knows, Spears is the real villain, and she just killed two military men.
I don't know. It's very murky moral territory, which I appreciate, but I also feel that they didn't have the time to explore it in a way I hope they do if they get a second season.
See, I hope they get a second season so they can dig a little deeper, because I always feel like the way that we see zombie apocalypse portrayed on screen, big or small, is it's the chaos of like the initial what the heck is going on, and then once you get the opportunity to settle in, that's when you start to discuss morality and what to do and make some smarter decisions like that. I almost appreciated that they didn't go there because it served the frantic nature of the show so well, where in this moment where we meet these characters, they're all like chickens running around with their heads cut off. They have no clue what's going on, no clue what the best move is to survive. All they could think of is survival and getting to my loved ones, and that is the driving force behind all their actions, which is why all of their actions, whether or not I am okay with what they do, it feels very reasonable to me. Mm-hmm. Like, I understand why they do what they do.
Yeah, yes and no. Like, I understand, but I also, would never. Like, I just kill myself. I'm not going to murder hundreds of people so that I can live. That's not an option to me. So it's, like, that's a very firm line in the sand that I don't want them to sit around and have, like, ponderous conversations over the fire about what they've done, because that feels very Walking Dead. But, just more present awareness in the way that the characters are... Or maybe it's something I'm bringing to it. I just really feel that they want us to be on Rose's team, and I'm freaking not. Like, I'm just not. I don't give a shit about her kid. Like, why do I care if she gets back to her kid?
I was on Rose's team for the first half.
Yeah, for sure.
So, you know, I mean, this is the interesting thing the show does, is it forces you to think, like, where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
And I definitely drew the line in the first half. I think I drew the line, oddly enough, I think I drew the line with the diner stuff. When they throw that guy out, it's like, even though my mind knew that he was bad from the second we met him, I don't know if I would have the heart to beat the shit out of someone and then throw them out the door as bait.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have the heart to do it, but that's also something I have no moral quandaries with. Like, he was going to throw my girl out, and, like, I can't have that.
He was going to do terrible things also. I'm not trying to give
Like,
him, like, a get-out-of-jail-free card.
For sure brought
but
that on himself.
I don't know if I would ever be able to bring myself to do something like that to a human being. I would probably, like, tie him to a chair before I would kick him out the door.
I get that. No, I for sure get that. And I am also on that same wavelength, but I also have no judgment against anyone for kicking him out because he was going to throw Kyung-sun out, and she's fucking awesome.
I think she is my favorite.
She is my favorite.
She's awesome.
I really respect the decision to go without subtitles, to really put us in that language barrier.
Yeah,
I think that's fascinating.
I really dug that. And I mean, the fact that, you know, like, we don't understand a word she's saying, but the fact that, like, the meaning behind it comes through from her performance, and just watching all of the actors and how much chemistry they all have together, I really enjoyed that part of it.
She's a little badass.
She really is. She really is.
She's my hero character until she does something horrifying.
I know.
Well, I guess she was complicit in that massacre too. So, like, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's the question though. It's like, what's her name? The Manny's girlfriend. Am I saying the right names anymore?
Ooh,
this was the other problem I had with it, and had with some of the title cards, is that. Even when it came to Lance and that shot I really liked, I couldn't figure out, was that supposed to be about Lance, or was that supposed to, or is she Lance, and it's just a different use of the name than I was expecting?
Interesting.
Sometimes I think that had me catching up a little too late. I think her name was Carmen. I wonder how much Manny and Carmen told them about that facility,
right?
And what they said, because if they said this is a facility of people who are, you know, promoting sex trafficking and drug use and drugging people, drugging Lance per se, like, did they just tell them the bad so that they could get the weapons?
Sure, that's viable, and certainly, like, Rose and Lance did not have a good experience with those people.
No.
But it's hard for me to believe that everybody who was, like, granted really stupid enough to go to a rave in an apocalypse, but, like, it's hard for me to believe that everybody who was dancing in there was evil, you know? That's a tough sell.
Well, so I bet you some people were, like, forced to be there, and imprisoned to be there, and they just, you know, they had to bite the dust because they made this plan.
What a sequence, though. Really, I love the puzzle way they put it all together.
I thought
you
that
don't really
was
know what
great.
the hell's going on until you do, and then you're like, oh,
and how you could see every perspective and see it with such depth. And I also really loved how this show taps into certain things that are so logical. Like, they would, if a zombie apocalypse ever really happened, these things would happen. And I feel like this is one of the very first times I've seen it. I'm not going to say it is the first time, because for all I know, there's something important that I'm forgetting right now. But in that episode in particular, when they're crawling through the air shaft, my movie-loving brain is like, you guys are safe. You're in the best possible spot. Of course, if there's a shootout underneath, it would go through the vent and it would kill someone.
The stray bullets are one of my favorite elements of the show. Also, Carmen gets taken out. The scene, everyone's firing. I'm like, how are they not all fucking dead? And then finally somebody died from it.
And also, in the very last episode, too, where they're running to safety, of course, you're trying to kill zombies and you're going to kill a human being. And it's not even like it's a blink and you miss it type moment, because then they come back.
Right.
Like, you get this split second where you see on the character's face, look what I just did. And then on top of that, that is now a zombie.
Yeah.
And you need to, I have a good feeling if they get a second season and we see this play out, we're going to see them start to process that. And it's going to become part of their tactical methods in order to defend themselves. It's like, it's not just about killing the zombies. It's about making sure you don't create another one in the process, too.
Right. Yeah, well, they got to learn about headshots. I mean, it's a tough sell for me that 6 weeks in they haven't figured that.
Okay,
but the other people who were getting to the stadium clearly had.
They knew.
Yeah.
But still, I do feel very confident in saying if a zombie apocalypse were to happen tomorrow, like 90% of the population, based on entertainment alone, would know, shoot it in the head.
Well, that's one of the things that I think I mentioned last week was you have to sort of take the show on the merits of maybe zombie movies don't exist in this world because everybody acts like such a fool.
That's crazy.
I mean, but really, there's no other way to accept what they're doing. And I mean, like, I personally, we grew up of the generation of, like, you know, Shaun of the Dead and stuff, and we like the characters who are like Adam Driver in that trailer for The Dead Don't Die, where he's like, I'm thinking zombies, like they just know. But for decades, that's not how zombie movies were. They existed within worlds where people didn't know what the hell zombies were. And I feel that this show is kind of in that zone.
I guess it's hard. I think it's just because we get so many of them. It would be very difficult for me to jump into a show like Black Summer that seems like it takes place modern day and be able to mentally process that, oh, this is a world where they don't have all the zombie content that we do.
Yeah.
I feel like they do.
It's like an alternate history. That's the only way I can accept it, because otherwise these people are too stupid to live.
Oh, let me go. Oh, so we should probably talk about episode 3 because you put that on my radar.
So episode 3, I was wrong, by the way. I actually like episode 3, but we should talk about it because it's creepy as hell.
Yeah, it is.
It's episode 4 that I hated. That's Lance's episode where he
that
just
was the episode I didn't.
wanders around in a stupor.
That's one of, I wrote. This is what my notes are. I wrote for episode 4 and meh for episode 7.
That sounds about right. Yeah, 4 is not good.
Do you want to hear exactly what I wrote? Yes. Lots of running. Just in case I forgot.
That sounds right. Lots of nothing and lots of running with that one.
I think the physicality of his performance was spot on. He was an A+ runner and like sweater. And when he jumped from the bus to the RV, I'm like, you go, dude. That looked great. Yeah. But in the end, I'm like, all right, whatever.
It's too much time on that. It's
and I
3's good though.
I didn't like the structure of that episode too. How you start with Sun and Velez at the very beginning.
Yeah.
I was like, why is that in Lance's episode? Why didn't you just like make it a Lance journey?
It's a weirdly structured series in general, and I'm not usually a fan of the like, we're considering this a 10-hour movie. Like, go fuck yourself. That's a TV show. But this really, what does it run, like 3.5, 4 hours?
Something
this is
like that,
kind of an extended film. It's somewhere between film and series, and I think that maybe the title cards were an attempt to lean into the series dynamic, and that didn't really work out. And things are oddly structured, and part of me is like, maybe you should have leaned into the traditional format of film a little more.
I have a feeling that door was probably closed for them. Like, I get the sense that this was probably made on a very short schedule for a very limited budget, and they probably had holes that they needed to fill with those title cards.
Right.
Otherwise, there would have been scene transitions that didn't work.
Yeah,
or scene transition that made it more abundantly clear that pieces of the story were missing.
So Netflix and Blumhouse, and I just can't think of the title. Oh, Ghoul. Last year they had a 3-episode.
I wanted to watch that and never did.
That was called Ghoul, and that was sort of a happy in between where it was doing a 3-act structure, more traditionally filmic, but was still a series. I feel like that might have benefited a little of clarity in Black Summer and a little bit of the weird pacing stuff. But, I mean, I like the series overall. It's just, in the future, I don't know if, like, episodes ranging from 25 to 45 minutes at random where characters seem to come and go at random is necessarily the best structure.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I mean, I definitely liked it overall, and I would recommend it. But there were certain little bits that had me a little frustrated. One other thing I did like, though, is how quick they were to kill certain characters. Kept me on my toes the entire time.
Absolutely.
And it made it feel how it would probably semi-feel to be in that kind of situation. I mean, the bullets aren't always going to miss your hero characters.
No. And, I mean, I was really, what was his name? Was it Velez? I was sad to see him go. He was great.
Yeah, I was really
And it's such like a bummer way to die, too. Like, you just fucked your ankle. And you're so close, but you can't make it.
I really liked him. I liked the relationship he had with Sun also.
That was probably my favorite part, those two together.
And that was like another... Like, where did Rose go? Like, she just turns into a ruthless killer.
Yeah. I mean, I guess...
Like, the way she is so quick to pull that trigger with the military men and then to put Velez out of his misery.
I guess, I mean, Velez is the one I respect. Like, that's doing your bro a solid. That's legit shit. Like, either we all die or you die, and I'm not just going to leave you here to get eaten.
Yeah. No. And a sensible way to think given the scenario. It's just
but like, definitely ice cold. Like
ice cold. Well, ice cold, and I also think it comes through her performance too. It's just, it's one thing to show remorse after doing something like that, or even thinking briefly before doing something like that. But I think when it came to, like, Velez, she pulls the trigger very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And even with the military men, listening to Spears and talking with them a little, that didn't really read to me as, like, I'm sitting here deciding whether or not I should kill them. And when she finally does kill them, I didn't see that click happen, so it felt very abrupt to me.
Interesting. I wonder if that was an intentional choice or just a performance misstep.
I don't know.
I do think that when it comes to Velez, like, especially because she is so close to her daughter, that decision makes a lot of sense to me. She's, like, almost there.
I mean, how stupid were they to put the daughter on the truck at first in the beginning anyway?
Oh, I can't. Look,
like,
people do a lot of really dumb things.
One parent gets on the truck, then the kid goes on the truck, then the parent at risk tries to get on the truck and dies, and you guys go off to the stadium. I know. There were mistakes made in these episodes. How do you explain the ending?
How do I explain the ending?
Specifically with the daughter.
Yeah, so I guess to me, like, I read it as the help that was supposed to come never came, and they've sort of set up camp with whoever's left inside that stadium.
I was wondering if they were also teeing up the possibility that it was just a vision.
Interesting.
Just because we saw that before a little with her.
We did. I felt maybe...
See, but that was another instance where the title cards are kind of messing with my head because that was called Mirage. So it's like, I knew going into that they were going to think they were seeing something. Yeah. So I wonder if that was just, like, confined to that specific segment and it shouldn't even be in play anymore.
That's interesting. I guess it did cross my mind, but I thought other people saw them too. I haven't watched it for a couple weeks.
I kept looking at their faces in that moment, and nothing about their performances said to me, we process that we see your kid too.
Okay, interesting. I guess
I don't know.
Hopefully there's another season and we'll find out.
I do want to see another season.
I do too.
Before we move on from this, we do have to talk about episode 3 now because I want to know what you thought about it.
Oh,
because we
fuck
brought it
them
up.
kids.
The kids?
Yeah.
That was great. I thought that was a great episode.
But that's kind of what I was talking about last time. Like, part of me wants to be like, fuck them kids, shoot those motherfuckers. But, like, could you really kill a child, like a bunch of kids? I don't know. I don't even like
Ryan.
Poor Ryan.
The way he dies is so brutal.
So terrible.
He couldn't hear.
Yeah, I know.
He didn't hear that the kid said, "Don't move."
Kids are such assholes.
That broke. I think that was probably one of the most heartbreaking deaths of the entire show.
That was a real bummer. I do like this sort of the taste of Lord of the Flies that we got.
Yes, as did I. I thought that played very, very well.
Without explaining it, I think that was smart. It's just, this is what these kids are now. Took 6 weeks, and now they're killing machines.
For the record, after watching all of Black Summer, I still think I have a decent chance of surviving a zombie outbreak. Good. Yeah. Just to clarify what we had spoken about last week. I'm still
good for you.
I still think I'm okay.
I still think everyone who thinks that is batshit crazy, with all due love to you, and you know I love you. But I think anyone who thinks that they're prepared for an apocalypse with people eating people and your whole family dying is batshit fucking insane.
I'm not saying that I'm mentally prepared for any of that.
Yeah.
Again, I think just the simple thing of not having a toothbrush and toothpaste will drive me mentally insane. I'm saying that when the initial outbreak happens, I have a better chance of survival because I can run and I have a feeling I could process chaos on the spot a little better than most. Yeah. It's like the madness that seeps in after that scares me more. So eventually I would die. But I'm just saying when the outbreak happens, I'll probably be with the group that gets to the stadium at least.
All right. Good
and then
for
I will be out of control and useless.
Yeah. So you don't think like if like Dewey got eaten, you're dead from get-go because your emotions are in your way and you can't do anything?
I think I would have a very difficult time processing that.
Yeah.
But I think the debilitating element would come in when I'm safe and sound in a stadium after like adrenaline pumping, running from zombies. When I sat down and had a moment to think about it, I would be like, oh shit, everyone's dead. I don't want to live anymore. Fuck this.
All right.
Yeah. Wow, that got grim. But at least I lasted longer than you, Haley.
Yes, you did. I don't even think I'd try, honestly. I don't have any interest in living in that world.
That's like what we talk about this in my family all the time, and that's what Lonnie says. She's like, I wouldn't even try. I would just give up.
What's the point? Like, what are you going to get out of that life? We've all seen The Walking Dead. It's just shit for a decade. Pass.
I also think it's just like running from fear of death, though.
Yeah.
Like I think my like I don't know if I would call these animal instincts, but I think that would kick in, just like to defend myself from death.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. I just, like, I definitely think I would fight off a zombie. I wouldn't just be like, yeah, eat me, I don't give a shit. But I also wouldn't, like, I'd probably just, like, stay in my house as long as I could.
I would probably do that.
And then, I guess.
Actually, I lie. I would never do that. I would probably try to get in my car and drive cross country, which would be the dumbest thing I could do.
Nobody's surviving. It's all a disaster.
It would catch on way too quickly, too.
Yeah.
What was it, 72 hours in Denver was black or something?
Oh, my God.
It's crazy.
We're all doomed.
Good thing this only exists on TV and film. Yeah.